This is Thank You Mama, weekly lessons from mothers all around the world. Hello and welcome to Thank You Mama. My name is Anna Teider. My guest today is Emiko Rasmussen. Emiko is originally from Japan. She was born in Yokohama. Emiko, did I pronounce it correctly?
Yep, perfect.
And she lives in San Diego. Emiko is a speaker, a coach, and the host of Her Confidence, Her Way. Hi and welcome, Emmy.
Hi, and thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to be here today. Thank you.
I'm very, very excited to have you. Will you tell me a little bit about your podcast and your work?
So my podcast was created because of the little voice that I heard in my head saying, oh, you should start your own podcast. And what this means is that, so I used to commute. I had a commute for like 1 hour and a half one way. And sometimes the traffic, it gets bad and it can be 2 hours. So my commuting time was definitely my learning time. And I somehow discovered podcast. And I was listening to this podcast. It's called Working Motherhood Podcast. And I heard about entrepreneurship and all that stuff. And English is my second language. So back then, I had no idea what entrepreneurship means. So I literally have to go home and Google the word. That's where I was at. And although those podcasts are very helpful, I have this cultural and the language barrier that I couldn't connect with those other, I guess, quote unquote, American women. They are already, the language that they speak is their native language and the culture, they grew up with it. So I had a little bit of gap or some sort of I wish I can find something that who can relate to my story. And I was looking for other podcasts and I couldn't find it. And I was thinking maybe I should search in Japanese. I'm pretty sure someone's doing a podcast like this. And I couldn't find anything.
When was that?
That was, let's see. I always go with my kids. So let's see.
As every mom does.
Oh yeah. So my daughter's 6 and she was back then. So 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I think podcasts are still
very new.
Yeah, new, just starting, right? And I couldn't find it. And my little voice saying, you should start a podcast. You should start a podcast. And I was like, yeah. There is no way. Who am I to do this? Everybody's going to laugh at me. No one's going to listen, all those things. So I dragged that for a year, 1 year, and then started my own podcast. And it is all about really... It's about the self-confidence and being able to believe in yourself and accepting who you are and showing who you are, especially me, because English is my second language. Sometimes I not now, but before I had a little bit of self-doubt. Oh, people are going to think that I'm stupid because my grammar is not perfect or I have accent and all those things that I had to fight with. So I created this podcast, and it's specifically for Japanese-speaking women. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then you asked me for what I do. So I am a side hustle coach, and I myself was a side hustler for 4 years, and that's back then I started the podcast.
Now you have to explain side hustler for those who don't know what side hustler is.
The way how I explain is people start their side hustle based on their passion or based on their strengths and something that they're really passionate about. And they're doing it with a passion or purpose-driven work, and that brings money. So that's what I was doing for 4 years. And before I became a side hustle coach, I was a career coach, and I was helping other Japanese working women who are having challenges by working in this country. And little by little, people are asking me, so you have 2 kids and you do volunteer and you are doing this coaching thing, and how do you do it all? So I just listened to people who are following me and just answering questions one by one. And now people are really wanting to turn their passion into profit and do something that, they get to enjoy and just show up 100%.
How did you come to United States? Will you tell my listeners a little bit about your story?
Oh my gosh, this is funny story. Okay, back then, I was born in 80s, like early 80s. We have no cell phone, no smartphone, nothing, no YouTube, right? So the only way that I get to learn about the United States, is through a TV show. It's called 90210. 90210, is it what it is?
Yeah. Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills, yep. Yeah, in Japanese, we say Beverly Hills Hakusho. I don't know what that means. But anyways, and then there's a Full House. Those are the two TV shows that I used to watch. And I was thinking, America is all about having like blonde hair, blue eyes, green eyes.
And a house on the beach.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's how I understood as American. And my city, Yokohama and San Diego, they are the sister city.
Oh, nice.
And they were looking for someone who wanted to, join this 3 weeks exchange program. And I had no idea where San Diego was. And for whatever the reason, I thought that San Diego is somewhere in China. Don't ask me why. I just had this assumption. No, I'm not interested in going to China. Whatever the reason. And this is where the thank you, Mama Rudy, comes. My homeroom teacher recommended this program to my mom, and my mom showed me the paper, and then I said, "Oh no, Mom, I'm not interested in going to China." And she's like, "No, this is United States. This is a city instead of the United States, it's in California." I was like, "America,
Beverly Hills,
Beverly Hills, Full House, right?" So, and then my mom also, who was the one who introduced me to this this language, English. She told me when I was in the fourth grade, she said, if you by the time you grow up, I'm pretty sure English is something that you have to be able to speak. So you should start going to this English school. So that's how I started English too.
So you don't have languages. You didn't have to learn a language in your school?
You mean like English language,
or any other language?
Oh, so in Japan, people normally study English, Japanese, and then
okay,
yeah. Well, back then in my generation, we started when we were in junior high, but nowadays, this generation of the kids, they start in elementary. So that's how I pretty much just got here. And then my host family, they are Laotian and Thai. Obviously, San Diego, they're a lot of immigrants. So when I met my host family, I got confused. Wait, they don't have a blonde hair. They don't have green eyes. Blue eyes. What's going on? Do they speak English? And they didn't really speak English neither. Like, to be honest, I was not happy. I was really upset. I came here to learn about American culture. And then a couple of days, I realized, because San Diego is right next to the border of Mexico, Tijuana. So there are a lot of Hispanic speaking and Asian, but different country. Like, I've never heard of other countries like Laotian. I had no idea. So all those people from different cultural backgrounds, and hearing all different languages, and then I had this like aha moment, like, oh, this is America. This is so cool. I get to learn about the language and the different languages and culture while I was in the U.S. This is awesome. Like, what a wonderful country. So that was like my aha moment.
And then you went back to Japan, and then you returned for university, didn't you? And just stayed.
Yes, I did. Because I already determined that, this is where I want to study. And I met a boy.
Is that the boy?
Yeah, that's actually my husband.
But now you can tell me. I'm a little bit confused about your second name, because it sounds Scandinavian for me, but I read he is Korean. He's
half Korean and half, I guess, Caucasian. And Rasmussen Yeah, Rasmussen is actually a Danish name.
Danish, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
and yeah.
Oh, wow. So your girls are very, very mixed. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Half Japanese and quarter Korean and quarter Caucasian, but the mix of Caucasian. Yeah.
Emiko, will you tell me a little bit? I'm curious to learn a little bit more, and I'm sure my listeners are as well, about women in Japan. What are the challenges they are facing nowadays in Japan? What are women struggling with, or what are the issues?
Yeah. You want to go there? So women in Japan, I think that things are changing, definitely changing. However, it is still, I want to say that men are primarily the breadwinner. And women, they normally, this is like a typical like woman's life that is expected from the society. You get married around whatever the age that you want to say. You can throw whatever the number, but you are married and you are retired from your company because you are about to have kids. And after that, you're just going to be a stay-at-home mom.
Is it really like that? I heard that from you, and I was very surprised about this marriage retirement that's still going on in Japan.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So women start working and then they stop.
Yeah, and then there's a term, it's called kotobuki taisha. That means it's a retirement. It's a celebration of a retirement because you're going to have a kids.
Oh, wow. And then it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very hard because, once you are out or away from the workforce for a long time, I'm not saying that they can't come back, but it is challenging
It's very challenging.
It's go back.
So, Emmy, is there any kind of a system in place, like there is in Europe, but not in States, where there's childcare and, a maternity leave, and the jobs are secure, and when you go to on maternity leave, you can't be fired and stuff like that? Is the system trying to help women to balance work and family?
Yes, Japan has one of the amazing countries where they offer a parental leave. They offer for 1 year for the parental leave. Here in the States, it's like 3 months?
If you're lucky. But if you're lucky, I think some places don't even have maternal leave. You just have to argue with your boss and see if they will let you go away or not once you had a baby.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
My listeners in Europe, I'm sure, take this for granted, because in Europe it's normal that you're at least a year. You can even extend it to 2 years,
Yeah. And I don't know about the Europe countries like expectations, but I'm assuming the expectations are they're gonna come back and they're gonna work, right?
Yeah.
But in Japan, for whatever the reason, the company just assume that women are gonna be leaving as well.
That's
and women also find that it's gonna be hard to come back, or it's gonna be hard to find the child care. That's the problem that the Japanese society are facing, because I was really surprised where, I'm trying to explain this and hope this makes sense. So let's say, you have one kid and then you're expecting another kid, right? Okay, so then you have your first child, the older kids, you have a spot in a daycare. As soon as the daycare, and I'm not generalizing, obviously it's not everywhere, but the story that I hear is as soon as the child care find out that you are expecting a second one, most likely you don't get to keep the older one in the child care because there's an assumption that you as a mother is going to be taking a time off and you're going to be the primary care. So you don't get to send your older one to childcare. That's something that I literally spoke to a couple women when I was in Japan playing at the park, and does she go to a preschool? And she's like, no, actually, like the way how she said it was, well, we got kicked out because I had this baby.
That is crazy because especially when you have a newborn, you want the older one to be taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, if you look at the international inequality or like a gender index, although Japan is a developed country, the rank is really, 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 really low, like 121 or something crazy.
And a huge pay gap, I read. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Between men and women. There's still work to be done everywhere in the world for us women.
Everywhere. Yeah, definitely. And I think that this is not about women's problem, right? This is a social problem,
Exactly.
and we just can't. It's not us. It's about. It has to come from both way, and I'm not saying just it's as a woman and a man thing, because obviously there are people who don't necessarily associate with men or women, but like this is a social problem.
It is.
So we can't just say fight for equality, inequality, and all those things. We can't do that. And then we're not asking to be treated special treatment. We're asking to be treated just equally, just the same thing. But I think asking to be treated equally is hard. And it's not just Japan, but in the United States,
so many cultures, everywhere in the world. Yeah. Amy, will you tell me about Mama Kadzuko? And listen to my Japanese here. Pronunciation.
No, you did amazing.
Tell me about her a little bit.
Oh gosh, my mom. Oh my gosh, I get emotional. Like I'm pretty sure your listeners also the guest gets emotional too. My mom is definitely my role model. I never thought that my mom is a role model, but now as a mom, and I think about what she had done for me, everything. She showed me. She didn't tell me, but she showed me. So, for example, she was a working mom. And I think she did stay at home for a little bit when we were a little bit younger, and then she started working again. And I just remember her she would be working and go shopping, and she will come home and she'll cook. So like a typical moms, but she also goes out for like dinner with her friends, or she hangs out with her friends. Or I remember like my mom going to like the sports fitness center, and she would drop us off at the kids play area, but she would be wearing those like a neon, the Arabic. You know which one I'm talking about, like your car and all that stuff. And she would be having fun with her friends. And she is also involving with the community, and she's always doing the volunteer. And it's just, she was doing everything. And now I am doing that. She didn't tell me to do it, but she showed me to do it. So it is just so impactful, just the way how she lived and how she kind of like taught me in that way. I remember she told me this thing. She said, you can't just focus on the result. You have to have a progress, or the process. You have to have a process, and go ahead and focus on the process, and depend on how you do with your process, the result will come. You can't focus on just the result, because focus is as much as important as process is as much as important as a result. And just enjoy the process. Like I still remember her telling me, I don't remember what kind of occasion, but that is also like, Mom, like you are genius. Thank you.
I think we need to learn that a lot, especially in the Western culture and especially in America, with this spirit of you just imagine it and vision and have a vision of your goal and you can do it and just have the picture of the goal. It's so very goal oriented that I do think the process is being forgotten in the process.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Are there any other lessons you would like to share that you think you've learned from her?
Oh yeah, I mean, there are so many lessons that she taught me or like showed me where. So these are the good things that she showed me, and then I have another one where not to do it kind of lessons.
This is what you should not do.
Okay. not to do it. Lesson is that so Japan is very, I want to say the education is very competitive, right? And I still remember a day that I would bring a test. I was like elementary kids, and I bring it to my mom, and let's say I got a 95 point out of 100, and I show my mom like proudly, "Mom, look, I got 95 for this test," and she goes, "Oh, so what happened to those 5?" Or then I got 100, right? And Mom, I got 100. Oh, how many kids got 100?
Oh my God, Mom.
So and I know she wasn't saying that because she was mean, but I think it's a culture. It's a cultural thing.
Is it a Japanese thing, you think?
I think so. It's like a comparison. You're comparing because you want to fit into others. So it's like in my mind, like, this, I got 100. So she asked me how many other kids got 100. That means this test must be easy. So it is just normal that I should get 100. I felt like I never felt that I was never enough, but this really, it's in my roots still. So what happened is that now my daughter, my older daughter, when she brought a test, and I don't even remember the score, but when she said, let's say she got a 48 and then out of 50, right? And she said, "Mom, look, I got a 48. And my immediate reaction, I said, "Oh, what happened to those 2?" And I'm like, "Wait, what?
Did you really?"
And then my husband, he's American. He's right next to me like, "Great job, Haley. I'm so proud of you." And oh my goodness, I cannot believe I didn't even think. It was just like a natural thing. It came out of my mouth. So it was so now this is a lesson not to do it, but she taught me in a way. It is not a good way because I think, here in US, I think we focus on the positive, what it is called, positive enforcement. Is it what it is?
Yes.
You praise them and good job, blah, blah, blah. That's how kids do well. Versus Japan is like, no, you got to work on this, work harder, blah, blah, blah. So that's, it's just kind of funny how it's just a different cultural value, I think. But I definitely don't want to do that way. I want to raise my kids with positive reinforcement.
Are you working on it now?
Oh, definitely. Now I say, like, you don't have to be perfect. And my even little one says, we're not perfect. It's okay. And we definitely embrace the imperfection. It's okay. If we don't do it right, we can always apologize and fix, and we can be a better person. So we are definitely embracing that.
Do you have more lessons you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh,
because I'm curious to ask a little bit more about Mom. I'm a little bit curious about what she did for work and if she studied.
Oh. Yeah, definitely. So my mom, she is definitely, so back then for my mom's generation, I think it was kind of like expected that, you get married by 25 and you have 2 kids. I don't know where this number comes from, but 2 kids by 30. Right? That's like a Japanese expectation in her mom's generation. But she actually, this is a story that she told me, she didn't get married until she was like in her 30s.
Oh, so she was a rebel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Definitely. And then she met my dad. And my dad was the same thing. But back then, they were kind of like called as like, oh, they're the leftovers. Because they didn't get married by the expected age. But they both really did what they wanted to do. So my dad, he pretty much did like the US, like a trip from East Coast to the West Coast. He used like a bus to just do like that whole entire trip. And then my mom is the same way. She loved traveling around. So she definitely had that international like a sense of like, just getting outside of Japan. So she definitely had that outsider perspective. Yeah. And And I still remember she was telling me, because I felt bad when I got married with my husband and leaving oh my gosh, that's going to make me cry. But when I left Japan, because I got married with my husband and, moved here, I told my mom, I'm so sorry. And she said, why are you sorry about? And I said, well, because I feel like I'm leaving you guys, that if something happened, like I'm not going to be in Japan. And she said, well, good thing is we have airplanes that's only going to be 10 hours away. And she said, as long as you're happy, then I'm happy. Happiness is, it's you define your own happiness. And I was just crying, like, oh, I'm so sorry, Mom. But yeah, she was definitely encouraging about this international marriage, whereas there are a lot of other friends who are getting married with someone in a different countries, and they definitely had that setback as well. So she definitely gave me a lesson where having an open mind and open perspective is really, really important. And I definitely embrace that as well. So that's another lesson that I have learned. And oh gosh, can I keep continuing? You can just stop me, or you can just edit. And then the other thing is where I remember, I don't think they do that here in the States, but so in Japan for elementary, we have this thing called juggle sankan, which means that the parents are invited to come and watch the kids for a specific period, like from first grade through sixth grade. My mom, my dad never showed up. Actually, I've never seen any other dads coming back. It was more like the mom's job, I guess. I don't want to call it a job, but like a mom's thing. Anyway, so that's another story. But anyway, so from the first grade through sixth grade. Oh, go ahead.
That tells us about Japan and Japanese culture as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's not like if dad comes, that was like a weird thing. Like, why is this man here? Shouldn't he be working? That's like another gender expectation thing. But the first through the sixth grade, she never missed that. This the moms, coming to show up and watch how kids learn. So and she's always the first one. And back then, as a child, it was embarrassing. Well, I would say maybe the fourth grade, fifth grade, and sixth grade, as I get older, I'm like, oh my gosh, my mom is always the first one. She comes in, it's so embarrassing. But now I think about it, whenever I look back, my mom was always there for me. She was always there for me. And that's something that she showed me, that, how important it is to put family as a priority. Even though you're working, you make a way. Obviously, my mom was, I think she was doing part-time. I don't remember part-time or whatever, but she always did the arrangement, and then she showed up and she supported me. Although back then I felt so embarrassing, but now I know whenever I look back, my mom was always there. I cannot thank enough for that, because it's a commitment.
It's a commitment, yeah, but it gives you a base. Like you said, the parents show us these things in that way and don't need to tell us. She doesn't need to say, I'll be always here for you. You will always know she was here for you, because she showed it. Yeah,
exactly. The minute that someone opens the door, I know it's my mom. I know it's my mom. She's always the first one to show up. And again, she was always involved with the school, activities, community, volunteer. So now look at me. I'm always there for my kids. And it's a choice. No one's asking me to do it, but I want to do it because that's what my mom did for me. So I want to do it. So I did that. And the same thing for the volunteer work. She was always doing the community volunteer work, and she never told me to do volunteer work. Well, when I was younger, I was thinking volunteer, no, I need to get paid. I don't have money. That's when I was younger. But now I do volunteer. And then I kind of did mention earlier about the San Diego and Yokohama, our sister city, right? So this nonprofit organization, it's called San Diego and Yokohama Sister City Society. And I sit on board for that organization because of that organization, my life changed. So now I am doing the volunteer, and then I'm serving as a board of director for that organization.
Nice. Do you have more?
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, I do have more, but I don't know how much.
Okay, tell me one more and then we'll recap. We already have some awesome lessons.
Yeah, definitely. So it's kind of funny. My mom, she fights. She fought with my dad a lot.
Oh, now we're talking interesting lessons.
It is kind of funny. So my dad is a typical Japanese man, a salary man, or it's called a salaryman in Japanese, salary man, businessman. It's called businessman, basically. And he is a type of person. He is very punctual.
Punctual,
like he wakes up at the same time. He doesn't need a morning alarm. He would always wake up at 4:30 a.m. and he will be out the door by 5:30 and he comes home at the same time. Like it's just like a crazy how everybody can tell like exactly at what time, like where he is at. Like that's how punctual he was. And my mom is the opposite. She is more like a go with the flow, and whenever she goes for traveling or something, she doesn't necessarily make a plan. She's just gonna enjoy the moment and just go with it, right? And they fight because they're so different.
Oh, this sounds like my parents.
But what I have learned from my mom is that she never blames on my dad. Like she doesn't change him or anything. It's just, well, this is who you are and this is how you want to prefer and this is how I'm going to prefer. I mean, they're fighting still, but but like she never blames on him on the situation. Like, well, we're different. So to me, and then obviously when I first got married with my husband, and I thought, and I was hoping he's going to change, right? That's, I think many people go through that. Like, oh, he needs to change. Yeah. I'm always right. Oh, this is the way how you put the diaper on. Anyways, all those things. But then I just remember my mom saying well, we're different. So of course you want to do it this way. And of course I want to do this way. So we're going to have to meet in the middle. And meet in the middle. I can't change him. So ever since, I just remember, all of a sudden, sometimes you hear, my mom's voice, you got to meet in the middle. It's I got to meet in the middle. I can't change him. So I need to change myself, and maybe I can influence him. So, as simple as, laundries, he doesn't put his laundry in the hamper, for example, or I don't know why, but he misses, 1 inch right next to the hamper. I don't know. I'm pretty sure everybody hear this story, right? Yeah. And anyways, and then I used to get mad. But now I don't get mad. I mean, the best thing would be he would actually do it. But my job is to just influence him. So I just put the hamper. I mean, put the laundry in the hamper, and I kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And he's like, "What happened?" And I was like, "What do you mean? What happened? Are you not mad?" "No, I'm not mad." "Why?" "Because we used to fight with this thing." Yeah, but I mean, I can't change you. So, this is what it is. We got to be in the middle. And to me, it doesn't bother me. It takes only a second to just pick up and put your clothes in the hamper. And I bought couple more hampers because he just puts clothes everywhere. So I'm okay, every spot that he tend to leave, I'm just going to put all the hampers. And now he puts all the clothes in the hamper.
Now magically they are there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay.
Yeah. So, those are the lessons. And I really appreciate my mom really showing me.
I love that. That's one of the most important things we've learned from her is showing the children. It's not what you say, but how you live yourself and what you show to your children.
Yes.
So let's do our recap with that. That will be our first thing. And then the second lesson I wrote down is not to focus on the result, but to focus on the process, which I think is very important. Having an open mind, putting family as priority.
Yep.
Then we had meet me in the middle. And not blaming the partner and not trying to
Right.
change him, but trying to meet him in the middle. And then as the one trick question, which I didn't have to ask with you, what did she not teach you? You said focusing on positive reinforcement. So
Right. Yeah.
Positively motivating your children, not with criticism and questioning them, but congratulating on their success.
Yeah.
Wow, we learned a lot. And learned some things about Japan that I'm very excited you shared with me, because it was interesting. You know, we have a feeling we know some of the bigger countries in the world, but we don't actually know so much about them. I didn't know what women in Japan are struggling with, so it was interesting for me to learn.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have anything you would like to add before we close down?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to, it's like a disclaimer. Like, this is obviously like one side of the story. So things are definitely changing, and there are some amazing people who are really like, creating that movement and doing the ripple effect. But still, what's that? It's kind of like iceberg. The things that you see might be a little bit changing, but the inside, the underneath the ocean, it's a big, deep social problem that we still need to face. I kind of wanted to mention that because I can't represent everybody. Japanese people. Yeah, for sure. And I just wanted to say thank you so much, Anna, for this podcast, because when I discovered this, I just loved it so much, because really the lesson that I learned from your guest is something that you don't learn from a textbook. So it is so valuable. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you.
And thank you for adding to these valuable lessons.
Thank you.
If you enjoy Thank You Mama and want to help it grow, please take the 2 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps. If you'd like to get in touch, you can send me a mail at info@thankyumama.net. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under Anna Teider, that's Tajder. This was Thank You Mama. Come back next week, subscribe, and tell your friends.